I think we all can pretty much agree that s'mores is like the perfect dessert for any picnic or barbecue.
Definitely.
Yes. Is it the marshmallows or the chocolate that you like the most?
I like it all. In fact, at Christmas, I bought one of those. I don't know if you saw them. They're advertised everywhere. Where you can do your own, you know.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, like the little mini fire that you can have indoors.
Just plug them in and
yeah.
I bought one.
So fun. Well, these are going to be s'mores bars, and they actually have some protein in them, so they keep you satisfied, so you could technically even eat them for breakfast.
Oh,
so
that sounds
you know,
great.
tomorrow morning you could wake up and just have one for breakfast. And they are really healthy enough to have for breakfast, but they have all the good stuff, the marshmallows, the chocolate, the graham crackers. So we're gonna get started with just the base, and then I'll have you cut up some marshmallows to put on top. So we're gonna add to the base 1.5 cups of oat flour, 2 eggs, a 1/2 cup of protein powder, a 1/2 cup of sweetener, a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, a 1/2 cup of peanut butter, a 1/2 cup of applesauce, 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, and on top we're gonna add 1/4 cup of chocolate chips, 3 graham crackers, and a 1/2 cup of marshmallows. Okay, so you could technically just use mini marshmallows for the topping, but the store didn't have any, so just as much fun is just cutting up some marshmallows and making them a little bit smaller. So we'll put those on the top of these bars. And I'm gonna get started with kind of the base here, and I'm gonna add all of the ingredients for the base right into the bowl and mix it together. And Terry, we have so much in common. We didn't get to talk very long, but we're both nurses. And what kind of nurse were you?
I was critical care nurse.
Oh, okay.
I was more into the hearts.
And I was a labor and delivery nurse. And then we both were saying how we both were very shy when we were younger.
Yes, very shy.
And now the Lord is working through us in a way of TV.
And we're both in Cornerstone Television Network, isn't it?
I mean, it's just, it blows my mind. But you know, this is just how God loves to shine and show off, right?
And we're both in Nashville.
Yes, and now we're both in Nashville. So tell me how you ended up getting to Nashville.
Oh goodness. You know, when I was raising my kids, God pulled me into chasing after spiritual hearts. And so I became a Christian author and created all kinds of products for children and teens and everything. Actually, the Ancient Heroes trading cards are mine.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so I was working a lot in Nashville. So I was here down for at least 10 years. And then after my kids were out of school, I met my husband. We dated for 5 years, and I always say we kind of accidentally met. He was working for the publisher that did a book series of mine, and I have to say, we kind of started our relationship out on a little tiny white lie, because when somebody introduced me to him, they're like, oh, you know him, and I figured I better say yes because he works for the publisher. And so I said, oh yeah, I know who he is. And same thing happened. They're like, oh, you know Terry, she's one of your authors. And he's like, oh yeah. We had no clue.
So you both didn't know?
No, we didn't know.
You were both pretending you did.
No, but that's how God introduced us. And we dated 5 years and ended up moving to Nashville. And so I've been here since 2007.
From the moment that I moved here, I noticed that the people was my favorite thing, because we had so many neighbors that came over and introduced themselves, and I was here alone actually for a few months. My husband was back in Michigan trying to wrap up everything with his business and his shop and move it here. And so I was alone with 2 little kids, and so many people came over and said, if you need anything at all, you know, and it was just really made me feel like it was a sense of home away from home.
It is. People are so nice here.
And so I just added to this mix some chocolate chips, not all of them, we're gonna save some for the top, as well as some of the graham crackers that I crushed up. And I just crushed them up right in a Ziploc bag with a meat pounder. But you could use a rolling pin or anything that you want to crush up the graham crackers. You could even just break them up with your hands. But do you use the meat pounder ever when you're cooking? Something like this?
Yeah, mostly for meat.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I use it all the time. I in the kitchen, I get creative. Like anytime I need to like break anything, crush anything up, you just get your meat pounder out. It's a great multifunctional tool. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this batter right into a 9x9 pan, a baking pan that I sprayed with cooking spray. We're gonna kind of smooth this out. The batter should look thick like this. It's gonna make a really delicious, almost like a graham cracker flavored crust. And then we're gonna top it with the rest of our chocolate chips and our graham crackers.
And marshmallows. Is this enough?
That looks perfect.
Okay.
That looks great. And you did a really good job with those. Like I said, easier way would be buying the mini marshmallows.
It's a little sticky.
Here, you can use this towel too.
Okay.
And if you don't have them, at least you know you can cut them up. I always like to top every dessert with like what I'm using in the dessert so you can look at it and say, oh, those are s'mores bars. Because if you just looked at that, it doesn't look really like anything special. But when we top it with all these delicious toppings, it's going to be so tasty and look beautiful. So we're gonna top the rest. Now we're not gonna put the marshmallows on until the last 2 minutes of cooking or so, because they would totally burn. So we're gonna put these in the oven, 350 degrees for 25 to 30 minutes. Is that right? Okay. And then in the last few minutes, we're gonna put the marshmallows on and let them just get golden brown and melted, and then we can cut them up and have them for dessert. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
All right, let's do it.